Hi, welcome to Meaningful World. I'm Dr. Ani Kalayjian, and this is the first in the series focusing on forgiveness. Well, we're actually going to focus first on peace building, and forgiveness is a vehicle, one of the steps to creating peace.
Dr. Ani, I know that on Monday, the 24th of September, is the United Nations International Day of Peace. And I'm wondering if you could help us understand how we might integrate peace within ourselves.
Well, that's a wonderful question. That's the $1 million question, they say, right? In games on television. Um, we cannot create peace without first creating it within. In fact, there is a book on this by Bert Hellinger that says peace begins in our souls. So we usually try to look outside for gauging our own inner peace. But it's the other way around. We need to look in first, create the peace here, within our heart, within our souls, and within our body. Because when you are in pain, it's very challenging to visualize peace because you are in pain. So we like to invite everyone to think about the holistic. That means mind, peaceful thoughts, peaceful feelings in your heart, peaceful physical expressions, peaceful actions. They all go together: head, heart, and hands. When these three H's, head, heart, and hands, are consistent, working in harmony, then we have created the inner peace. So with that, it's important to emphasize how we can try to disarm ourselves, because a lot of people think disarmament is only for nuclear energy, but it's really disarming ourselves within. That's the big question.
So, how do we disarm ourselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people are curious about that because, okay, they say that's especially the United Nations, they were saying disarmament. Disarmament, that's only for nuclear stuff. And I said, well, who makes the nuclear stuff? The human being. And if we are in peace, why would we create something that destroys humanity? We usually want to spread peace. That's what Meaningful World does, right? Helping one another. So how we can disarm ourselves is to really look in and evaluate what our emotions are and not attach to them. The emotions are in motion, just like clouds. Today looks like cloudy for us here in New York, but tomorrow is going to be sunny, or maybe it would rain. Who knows? That's why they call it the weather, because we don't know whether it's going to rain or it's going to be sunny. But we have a decision to make each day. When we wake up, we say, I am going to commit to happiness and joy today. And if you have difficulty with that, then I invite you to make a list of 3 things that make you joyous. Or perhaps start with gratitude. 3 things that you're grateful about. I can hear, I can smell, I can walk. Wow, I already did 3. And if I continue, I may have a whole list of areas of gratitude, which then helps me build emotional intelligence.
What is emotional intelligence?
Oh, that's a great question. People always know about IQ, but they never know about EQ. And the real success and peace is built through EQ, emotional intelligence, which is really identifying, describing, and letting go of our negative emotions, knowing what our emotions are, naming them, and measuring them. Because guess what? We don't have emotional thermometers. When we physically feel sick or not well, we go to the thermometer to find out what is our temperature, right? And if it's high, over 98.6, we say, oh, I have a fever. I have to take care of myself. But if it's within normal range, then we find other ways to relax our physique. But emotionally, we don't have thermometers. So we have created this handout for you, managing your emotions, nurturing emotional intelligence. So each morning you check in, you say, okay, let's see how I'm feeling today, and identify the first one that comes into your mind when you look at this handout. And then measure it by asking yourself 0 to 10, 10 being the most severe feeling. What level am I feeling frustration or anxiety or any other feelings here? Because if they are not managed, then they will all turn into anger, and anger is very poisonous. So we need to be mindful they're lower than number 4, level 4. If they go above level 4, then another incident will trigger you and you will enter into anger. And then all the organs, one by one, the brain, the thyroid, the heart, and the bronchioles, and the lungs, and the GI system, and the skin, and the muscular system, they all get impacted negatively. So that's why we need to be emotionally intelligent, not only manage our emotions, but read the emotions of the others, be in tune, and then empathize. Very important to empathize with others. Our usual knee-jerk reaction is to fix them, to stop the pain, but try not to do that. Listening is the key, and encouraging them to release the anger, or I hope it hasn't gone to anger, it's frustration and disappointment. And especially now, a lot of people are talking about grief because of multiple losses, loss of freedom to be out and around, loss of members of our families, loss of ability to go to work or school and be amongst others. So we have a lot of losses. So that's why I would say for us, the first thing after emotional intelligence is really forgiving ourselves and accepting ourselves. Forgiveness is key to peace building. We cannot get to peace without forgiveness.
Well, but Dr. Ani, it's kind of hard to forgive if a person doesn't apologize for what they've done.
That's true. In fact, a lot of people in my private practice talk about that they're waiting for the other person to apologize. That's a myth. You do not need to wait until the other person has apologized. That's one of the myths here. But let's look at the other myths. I will get to that. If I forgive, I will forget. And in fact, the research shows the opposite, that unless you have Alzheimer's or dementia, that you will never forget. If I forgive, you will do it again. In fact, the research shows the opposite. People are more remorseful when they see that you forgive them without their apology. So they feel more indebted, and they come forth and they apologize after you forgive. And even if they don't, that's not important. What's important is you let go of that anger. You let go of that attachment to your perpetrator or the person who has upset you. If I forgive, the enemy will be set free. In fact, forgiveness has nothing to do with social justice or you asking for your justice. When you have managed your emotions, in fact, you are now more realistic and you can go through the judicial system in a more healthy and non-emotional way. If I forgive, I will hurt those who died. Let's say if it's something about, I heard this about the genocide, Ottoman Turkish genocide. Survivors often said, if I forgive, those people who died will be hurt. That's nonsense. basically nonsense, nothing like that, just the opposite. You're transforming cycles of violence. If I forgive, there will be no justice. Again, it's a myth, because now your mind is clear, not cluttered with the frustrations, disappointments, and anger. And you can think and very systematically approach the issue at hand. If I were forgive, I will no longer be a victim. This is huge. In fact, victimization is a little addictive, maybe a lot. People attach to that victim role and they cannot get rid of it. As I always say, let's not carry our past and our mistakes and our anger on our back like a chair. Just drop the chair and just go on top of the chair. Use the obstacles and difficulties to your favor, to step up and see other perspectives. Widen your horizon and see differences and appreciate them. I need the anger to survive, because anger is such a strong negative energy, but people don't see the negativity. They look at the strength and they feel they're strong and they're doing something, but all they're doing is destroy themselves and others with them. Oh, I have to wait for the other to acknowledge and apologize and ask for forgiveness. That's how we started, like Lorraine. And it's not, it's just the opposite. You cannot wait for your survival, for your healing. You can't wait for others, or else you'll be waiting forever, and then it will become a chronic problem. And when it's chronic, it has gone to your organs, and then it's kind of very complex to heal it. Only survivors themselves can forgive. I've heard this about genocide and Holocaust as well. Offspring should not forgive. Nonsense. My father had died already, and he was a genocide, Ottoman Turkish genocide survivor of Armenians, and he was maybe at peace, whatever he did. I was the one who was angry, frustrated, and in grief and sadness. So I needed to do the forgiveness journey myself as a second generation. Only God, Allah, or deity can forgive, not humans. And this is also nonsense. Remember what Jesus said to the disciples. It said, when they asked how many times to forgive, it's 70 times 7. It's an indication that infinite times. You don't keep the scores with forgiveness. Whenever necessary, whenever you have negative emotions about someone else or a situation, then it's time for you to forgive. Remember, the way I define forgiveness is shifting from the ego reaction, the knee-jerk reaction, which is what is usually the knee-jerk reaction? Hitting back, right? Somebody hit you or hurt you, you want to hurt them even worse than before. This has been proven in many scientific psychological research studies. So forgiveness for us is shifting from that knee-jerk, negative, ego-centered reaction to hit back, cause pain to others, to a mindful, authentic response. What's a mindful, authentic response? Is to consider forgiveness and self-care and forgiving others, because we all can make mistakes in life, and we need to appreciate that we are humans and we are always capable of making mistakes, not being mindful, not being in the moment, not thinking about the repercussions and the reactions of our actions. So with forgiveness, shifting from the knee-jerk, ego-centered reaction of hitting back or hurting back to an authentic and real, inside the heart look into the situation. And last, I would say, when you are having difficulty to be heart-centered, always try to use, instead of your eyes, use your heart. When you're looking at difficult, challenging situations that are heart-wrenching, always bring the sight from the eyes to the heart and then look out from the heart. Thank you for all the wonderful questions that you have raised today. Have a meaningful, enjoyable, and peaceful day.